So sailing seems to be something that you either do at the end of your life when you're retired, or that you need a lot of money to do because boats can be a little expensive. But it isn't really. We don't have that much money and we made it happen because that's what we aspired to do. So in this video, we're gonna share with you the cost of buying a sailboat, because at the end of the day, everyone has the same sunset.
Welcome to Wildly Intrepid, where we do DIYs, reviews that matter, and we bring you along on the adventure so you can aspire and reach your goals. So first things first, you need to figure out who you are and what sort of boat you are looking for. How much time do you have and how much money do you have to spend on your new passion, which is going to be sailing. So before getting down into the nitty-gritty of the details of how much the actual boat costs, the dollar amount, we'd like to categorize buying a boat into three different categories. There's three different kind of boats that you're going to be looking for. Number one will be a brand new boat, which I'm sure most of you that are looking at this video won't necessarily be looking at a brand new boat, but it's still an option. Then at number two, you have a free boat, which is probably relatively rare to find, but there's always a caveat with a free boat. And then finally, you'll have, a cheaper boat or something closer to most people's price range. So we're back from our sail. A free boat will obviously take the most out of your time, so you have to make sure you have, a real surplus of time. And sometimes it's not really worth the trade-off in time because some boats have just gone way too far down the death spiral. They're basically just junk, and it's going to take way too much work to bring them up to the glory that they should be so that they're seaworthy. So you really sometimes have to balance those things. That's what we found with our situation, where we bought a boat that was let's call it lightly used, a few owners and people that sort of took relatively good care of it. And that way the price is brought down significantly from a really brand new boat, but it's also attainable, and we can fix the things ourselves because there's only so many smaller things that are wrong with it. We don't have a boat that's chopped in half or a big hole in the side. We had some smaller things to do that was easier to fix and didn't take up as much of our time.
There's a few things involved with buying a sailboat when it comes down to cost. You're gonna have the traveling to go see the sailboat, the cost of the actual sailboat. There's gonna be a survey cost, registration fees, insurance fees, as well as your repairs and upgrades. So one of the things you've got to look at before you even start buying your boat is there's going to be costs related to traveling to and from the different sailboats you're going to be looking at buying. In our case, we started looking in Newfoundland, it's an island in the Atlantic Ocean. More fishing boats than sailboats, so we did spend a little bit of money traveling to and from some marinas. But then we quickly realized that there wasn't much for us to purchase over there. So then our costs increased a little bit because we had to travel outside of the island, get on a ferry, and go to the mainland of Canada to look at sailboats. And then you're gonna have your transportation, accommodation, those kind of costs related with it. And if you want to go look at one in a different country, well, then there's the whole airplane business. And we were a little scared in going to look too far because we had that experience which an owner decided not to sell his boat. Sail his boat. Yeah. So we didn't want to run into that kind of problem again. So we decided to look at boats a little closer to our place, thus reducing the cost.
You really want to make sure to use all your resources as close to home as possible, because as soon as you start moving further, it's just the price goes way up and the expense goes way up. So don't be afraid to look locally a lot more seriously before you move on to outside your community. Now I think we're going to get into some of the nitty-gritty details of what it costs us to buy our sailboat and actually get it onto the water, at least into our name, and so we personally own it. Now, these costs are going to differ depending on which country you're in and which marina you're staying at and all of that, but we just thought we'd share with you what we spent.
Just to give you a little bit of an idea, because we didn't have a huge budget, so we went a little bit smaller
Yeah, I mean, your budget is going to dictate even just the size of the boat that you can get. Like, I mean, we started thinking much smaller initially when we realized our budget was going to be smaller, because that's just, you don't get as much space. And when you start looking at, for like under say $15,000, if you look for a boat that's under that and you look for something that's in the 40-foot range, let's say, because you want more space, well, you're going to end up with almost we would classify maybe as like a free boat, because it's just going to take so much work.
Big project.
Yeah, like just, we didn't want to be on the hard for years, so this is the route we took.
It was all about having a sailboat to let us live the lifestyle we wanted, which was traveling.
Mm-hmm.
So initially our budget was more for a $30,000 sailboat, because we did have jobs to afford a loan. But then, since we didn't buy it in Newfoundland, we moved away, quit our jobs. So then we were looking at something that was in between the $10,000 to $20,000 Canadian range. So we ended up finding this sailboat, the Hunter 33, 1981. We found it for, well, actually it was advertised a little higher, but we ended up purchasing it for $13,500 after a bit of negotiating. So if you want to save a little bit of money also in the boat, make sure you get a survey done, which there is a cost related to surveys. So in the area where we were at, it was about $17 per foot. And that involved a pretty detailed and hard survey. And everything that the surveyor finds that's wrong and that needs to be fixed is amounts that you can counterbalance with how much the owner is asking for. Which is why we kind of dropped down the price a little bit of the sailboat that we got.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like she said, you know, you end up saving money by doing the survey often, because they find things that you wouldn't find, and even if you found those, you might not be able to communicate the fact that, well, it's worth this value because, or this lower value because of this problem that it has. But a surveyor will be able to communicate exactly how much that's worth and how much lower you should be able to come in at a price that is fair for the both of you.
Mm-hmm. So we spent about $560 for the survey of this boat, which didn't include a sea trial, which would have been good, but the boat was on the hard, wasn't ready to be put in the water, and we still managed to start the engine on land with some water.
Yeah, so for us, we felt like it was okay to just go ahead and not do the sea trial, because we would have had to pay for the launch, then pay for the sea trial, which, you know, we were comfortable with. But the launch, if you decided not to get the boat, you're not going to get reimbursed for that launch.
The money in your account, it didn't do too well, it's gone.
And that's about $300 for this size of a boat at Sugarloaf Marina.
We decided just to trust it based on the startup and, you know, not do a test of all our rigging. We looked at all the sails thoroughly and made sure we put them out on grass to make sure that they were in good shape. And from what we could tell from our inspection and the inspector's inspection, it was worth not, you know, we didn't need to necessarily do a sea trial. So that's why we decided to go that route. So another little point to make is, often people underestimate, and we're guilty of this, you underestimate how much you're actually going to have to put into the boat to get it ready, either for, you know, cruising or just get it ready to live on and be comfortable on.
What? It's gone. It's all gone.
Other people have suggested save, you know, say 20% for, you know, of the total cost of what you're going to spend on the boat. Save an extra 20% for repairs and upgrades and those sort of things. But I mean, we found that to be somewhat accurate so far. But we also have more repairs to do and things like that. So we're not we have more upgrades to do to get it more ready for what we want, which is cruising and to leave for a longer time. So it's going to cost us maybe a little more than 20%.
And I think the older the boat, the more money you're going to have to put back into it. As well as if you buy a boat that wasn't used as a cruiser. So then there's a lot more upgrades to be done.
And keep in mind, when you're buying a boat, there's a lot of things that are like new or slightly, you know, like somebody who's selling a boat is always going to be tempted to write, well, I just replaced this, like 3-4 years ago. Well, sometimes those things that are replaced are already obsolete or, you know, close to obsolete. So even if it's like new, that might still mean that it's 10 years old. And a lot of things on a sailboat, after 10 years, you already have to start thinking about replacing them or looking at are they damaged, or inspecting them at least more often.
Another cost related with purchasing a sailboat is insurance. So if you're just cruising and then going in marinas, you might be able to get away with not having any insurance. But as soon as you want to have a sailboat at the marina, or if you need to borrow money for buying the sailboat, you will be required to have insurance on the thing. That's something you're gonna have to consider. In our case, we're spending about $600 per year, but our sailboat isn't worth that much money also.
Yeah. I mean, something, of course, to keep in mind as well, sailboats, unfortunately, aren't tax-free. Everybody has to pay their taxes on the things that they purchase, and of course you'll have to look into your taxes for your area. Everybody's different, so we're really not going to get into that too much, but it's just something to keep in mind when you're buying the boat, that taxes will apply.
In Canada, you can have your boat only license, which is actually free of charge. Just requires a little bit of paperwork, but not too much. But if you want to be able to sail away, a lot of countries require you to have a registered sailboat. And it also makes it easier to enter and leave countries.
It's kind of like a passport for your boat. You know, if you personally want to leave the country and you want to go to another place, you need a passport to prove that you're from this place. Well, that's what this registration is, but it's for your boat. If you want a little more information on that, check out the card up here. Alex explains it a lot more thoroughly in one of our other videos.
A lot of paperwork. And in our case, it was $250 to finally get that paper.
We got it though. And more on repairs and upgrades. We live in this wonderful age of information, and all the information that we could ever want is at our fingertips or at our thumb tips when we're on our phones. Anything is Googleable or YouTubeable. Everything is online, so we can find out anything we don't already know. You can take up the initiative and find out how to fix something or how to repair something. It's all there. So don't be afraid that you don't know how to do something. So don't let that stop you, is what I'm saying. You can find out how to do something. There's always resources out there.
Hopefully this video was useful when it came down to cost, because there's a lot more involved than just straight up buying a sailboat. If you have any questions or comments, just put them in the comments down below and we'll try to answer all of them as soon as possible.
Yeah, and make sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you want to see more of these kind of breakdowns of how you can accomplish your dreams really, and make them come true. So see you guys next time.
Surely, there is all shapes and all sizes of